Welcome back to TNT's Blues Corner, episode 10, baby. This one's a special guitar in terms, maybe not value, collectability, probably, but rarity. I'd say this, in my collection at least, one of the rarest guitar I have. It is an Electra MPC Vulcan, made 1976. Beautiful top on this thing. I mean, I don't know if you can see it here in this iPhone camera, but absolutely stunning top, all original. Has these MPCs in the back, so I'll pan it around here. One's fuzz and one of them's a phaser. They don't work, unfortunately. Maybe I'll get them working one day. Got a little window here, a little brass piece here that you turn over and holds that in. Unbelievable. This guitar is unbelievable. It's got a 50s neck. Everything about it just breathes of 59 Les Paul, 58. The placement of the back bridge. If you notice on newer Les Pauls, look at an older Les Paul, look at a new one, look where this bridge here is, this tailpiece actually, and see where it falls in line with the four controls, and then look at a newer one. They changed the spacing at some point after when they went into reproduction of the Les Paul after they discontinued in 1960. And I think it makes a big difference. And this, from my measurements of old pictures, I haven't had one in my hand, but it appears to be the same distance. I know the neck profile is very similar to a 50s, 58 Les Paul. It does get a little bit thinner this direction here up top, but the width is there, but it is a baseball bat chunky, man hand chunky up here. It is a huge, I mean, I can't play my typical thumb over up here. It's how wide it gets up here, but it really adds to the tone. It's not a bolt-on neck. It's sort of a through neck construction, but actually it's a long tenon, but it's smaller. It comes through. This piece comes all the way out like this instead of being connected here, and then the neck is grafted in right here. As far as I can tell, that's how it's constructed. But that long tenon makes a big difference. I know it does on Les Pauls as well, because my Les Paul actually has the short tenon. I believe that's the word for it, that stops a bit before the pickup or around the pickup, where the 58s and the reissues of that era go a little bit farther back. Gives a little bit more sustain on the neck. But anyway, this has got a selector switch, as you can hear, with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 positions, maybe 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 positions. And in that, you can find this online for a diagram. I'm not going to go into what everyone is individually because I just don't have that in front of me. But I want you to hear it for yourself, and maybe you can come up with it. But I know what it can do. This pickup splits the pickup, reverses the coil, so you get some out-of-phase tones like Peter Green and such. Great guitar. Only issue I have with it, and I need to get fixed, is because of the age of this guitar, and it may be actual tortoiseshell, made in Japan at the time. It's shrunk over the years, or whatever this material is on the binding here. Shrunk a little bit, and it allowed the frets to kind of separate from the binding. And sometimes my E string, you might hear it while we play, will get stuck under there and make a god-awful noise. But other than that, this guitar is pretty solid. So I'm going to play today with my Red Bear, as I always do, through my Super Reverb, 1964 Super Reverb. Here we go. Okay, this is the neck position, full humbucker. Now, anytime I play, you're going to hear the guitar in the position with the volume and tone all the way up for the most part. Unless I'm playing my Les Paul, sometimes I'll back it down. But for the most part, that's how I like to play. This neck is so dead straight, and you can get the action down so far that you barely have to touch the strings. And I play very hard, and changes the way I play a little bit when I play this, so I'll try to adjust. These pickups, I don't know, I think they're original. They're not the Magna Flux, but I believe they're made by the same gentleman that made those in Japan. But this guitar, it's got the Gumby style headstock, they call it. Gibson sued Electra, I believe, early on because they were making knockoffs. I don't know how Japan, or excuse me, wrong. I don't know how China gets away with what they're doing now. Maybe because they give the United States all the money. But for some reason, they're able to get these bootlegs in, and nobody seems to have any issue with it. But Electra was building copies back in the 70s, and they just had a hissy fit. But I can understand that, because I don't think that you should rip off another company without paying some royalties. But what we have on the back here, if you can see that number, there's the Electra. That's upside down. Let's try it this way. We can do it without screwing everything up. There's what it is, the model number and such. But beautiful guitar. Let's play it. Try this. It's such a light touch. Okay, we'll move into the second position. We'll see what that sounds like. This might be just one of the coils. It's hard to say. Maybe not. Whatever it is beautiful. I'm going to try to get a better camera and a better microphone so you guys can hear what I'm playing. But from right here where I'm sitting, where that amp's coming from, right over here, the beautiful 64 Super Reverb, this is a beautiful sound. Except for my playing. Let's try there's that reoccurring. If you want to learn how to play that, go back and see one of my earlier videos. I believe it's called a lead line turnaround. Check it out. Okay, now we're going to move on to the third position of the Selector Switch of Doom. What do we have here? Strat, single tone maybe? Or single? Ooh, a little scratchy on that. This thing doesn't get played a lot. Maybe a single coil sound. Maybe a split of the humbucker into a single. All right, let's go into the fourth position. that's really, really bright. So let's go on now to the next position, which I believe is number 5. That should be the back. No, that is the nasal tone of the world. Wow. I haven't played this guitar for a while, especially not through this amp. That is Peter Green. Any of my Peter Green fans out there will know what that sounds like. Oh, see if I can play this. Notice that I might have to set this thing up a little better. I haven't messed with this since the weather changed. It sounds like I'm getting a little buzz here, but you can hear the nasal tone of this. And what this is an out of phase sound that you can get with these guitars. Something I want to do with my Les Paul at some point. There's a cool YouTuber, and his name is Jonesy, I believe. Davey and Jonesy. Everybody's got, maybe I should be TNT or something, but Jonesy's got some amazing wiring, and from what I've seen, and I consider myself a pretty good solderer and such, because I've done that for a living in the past as a sensor control engineer, but he does some quality work. Just looking at his work, you can see the craftsmanship in what he does, but I'm thinking about buying his, I think, Jimmy Page wiring kit for my Les Paul. And anyway, but you can get these, he has other things. I think he calls it the whoop tone, or I forget what he calls them. Check him out. But that is it right there in a nutshell. I might have to use this guitar to do some recording. I forgot about this sound, how good it sounds. You hear a reverb sound in this room, which if I get to talking a little bit louder as we go along, we're about 800 minutes or seconds into this, it's because I'm going deaf from this thing right now because I have it up quite loud, but it feels and sounds excellent. But I think I have 9s on this. I don't know why, but I really believe there's 9s because they're so easy to bend. And it's causing me to underbend and overbend a little bit. But as I showed in some of my other videos, when you do that, try to hear it, of course, asinine, but try to hear it and adjust it as quickly as you can, because you'll find when you're playing live, most audience retention is pretty short. Pretty short. I mean, that's a bad way to put it. Normally, they won't hear these issues if you just keep on going. You don't call, my opinion, never call attention to any mistakes you make. And maybe even make, like Les Paul used to say, maybe make them again a couple times on down the road when you're playing, and people just think that's where it's supposed to be. of this guitar. I think we've gone through all the sounds. Like I said, unfortunately this circuitry down here doesn't work. I need to try to sometime get in there, and maybe I won't ever be able to figure it out, but it'd be nice to have those onboard effects. Kind of neat. So I'm going to end with one little story about this guitar. I bought this guitar in Boston, Massachusetts, somewhere over by Harvard, in a little guitar store, about maybe 8 years ago, maybe not. I can't remember how long it's been. But I bought this, and I bought a little amp made by Electra Vulcan X called the Freedom amp. And it's a battery-operated amp, loud as all get out for a little 8-inch speaker. I think it's in it. So what do? I get this guitar, and I got to make the money back. I think I paid $150 for this guitar and $40 for the amp. And I thought, well, I'm going to go down, and I'm going to be like everybody in Boston at that time. And there's guys playing buckets. There's guys, playing guitars in the street. So I go down the Commons, Boston Commons, and I sit there with my guitar, and I'm playing with my case open. Nothing. People just walking by and, smiling or yelling at me, whatever they might be doing. And I thought, well, I'm not making any money. And something clicked. I thought, I saw this guy playing buckets the night before. I thought, if I can get down there, he's always got a crowd. If I can get down there and join him, then maybe we can make some money. And then by that point, I was actually thinking, I'm just going to join him. I want to play. I wasn't looking for any money, actually. So I get down right outside of the center down there in Boston, where I think it's where the first shots of Revolutionary War could have happened, if you think that's where it all started. But before the war started, there was a incident where the British fired on Americans. If you've ever seen the John Adams story on HBO, they talk a little bit about that, because John Adams actually was the defense attorney, and they were acquitted because apparently it was all started from somebody throwing a rock. I don't exactly remember the history, but I was right there by where that happened. It's a beautiful town of Boston. If you ever have the opportunity to go, I'd say definitely go. Get a T-Pass or such, and just go anywhere in town for low cost. But anyway, back to the story. So I see this guy, and I get to know him. I have my guitar there, and he says, you want to jam? Just ready to get started. So he's setting up his buckets. If you want to see this guy, his name is Dave. Just Google Dave drummer or Boston drummer boy or something like that, and typically you'll find a YouTube video of him. I'm still waiting for somebody to put up the one where I was playing with him. But anyway, so we played for about an hour or so. I think somebody paid me $20 to play Black Dog, and and so we were just ad-libbing. I'd play along with him as he was playing his buckets, and incredible rhythm this guy had, and the ability to make great sounds out of just some buckets and tin cans and some pans and server trays and such. But anyway, the long story short, we get to the end of the night, and I'm thinking, okay, this guy told me that he'd split the pot, but what's going to happen? He said, all right, follow me up here. So we go up this set of stairs out kind of where nobody was, and I think, oh my God, what's going to happen? This guy's going to knife me or something. I'm not a city boy. I'm somewhat of a country boy, but anyway, I get up there, and he starts going through his he had a green bucket. He had this saying when he was playing, he goes, put the money in the bucket or something like that. But anyway, he had a green bucket in the front, and this thing was full of cash and change. And he's reaching around in the bucket, and he pulls out this pill. It's like a little pink pill or something like that. And he looked at me dead in the eyes, and he goes, never take one of these. And he threw it as hard as he could. So apparently he's taking things that people give him in his bucket. Kids, anybody out there, drugs are bad. Don't take drugs. But anyway, let me sum up a little bit quicker here. Finally, he sums up the money. I make enough money in that 2-hour time playing buckets in Boston to pay for this guitar for the most part and the amp, and still have a good time that night with my wife. It was for the whole time we were there. It's a great city. It's a great musical city. Berkeley College of Music there. You'll find some of the greatest musicians just playing on the street, playing buckets, playing violin, whatever. Go down through the T, which is their subway. It's a lively town. It's an enjoyable town. I love the North End, if you're a fan of Italian food and such. But that's the history of this guitar. I bought it, played with Dave, the bucket guy, and made enough money almost to pay all of it off and get some drinks. So you never know when you're going to buy a guitar like this, where it's going to lead you. But that's why I'll never sell this guitar, I don't think, just for that history. But anyway, I'll play you out. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time. Get that whoop sound.